Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&As. So like we've been doing, I'm just going to use old trading footage to do my voiceovers, and again give you guys something different to look at while we do the Q&A. So let me go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Hi Jason, I'm a 44-year-old lifter with only about 3 solid years of lifting under my belt. I've taken your suggestions and I'm doing the full body training every day, rotating the lifts using compound movements that cover the entire body and keeping volume manageable. I'm reaching a point where I've gotten strong enough with this, it's difficult to recover from. I'm using the rep scheme 8 sets of 3 and I've deloaded as you've laid it out. My sleep is solid, my nutrition is about 90% on point. What is the next logical step from here in your opinion? My main goal is overall health, although I've put on considerable size and gotten much stronger following this programming. Thoughts? Thank you. Alright brother, what I'm going to say here is that you need to keep in mind you are 44 years old and you've probably reached a certain degree of advancement as a lifter, particularly if you're training relatively heavy, doing a lifting everyday protocol like that. You've probably gotten relatively strong in the amount of time that you've done this. Now that being said, it's like I talk about all the time, the difference between oftentimes advanced lifters, intermediate lifters, things like that, has to do with your ability to generate more workload than you can recover from. In other words, as you get stronger, you are able to tax your body due to higher work capacity and higher strength levels. You're able to tax your body more in every given minute or hour of a workout than someone who's less advanced. You are getting older at 44, and even if you're on TRT, whether you are or not, it's almost besides the point here. You're going to recover a little slower than the 20-year-old kids, right? We simply can't recover as fast. You combine that with the accelerated strength, again, using an 8 sets of 3 type protocol on a high frequency, you are going to get strong. Realistically speaking, that's just going to happen. It's going to happen if you're using any sort of progress. So what you need to start looking at is more of active recovery. I would start asking the question of, first of all, how much list cardio are you doing? Are you soaking in hot baths, maybe soaking in hot Epsom salt? Are you working on relaxation techniques and unwinding better? Like you said, you're getting enough sleep and everything, so you need to start looking more and more at recovery if you want to maintain this sort of pace. Now that being said, you're deloading as I've said. Well, keep deloading as I've said. When you start to stall or you start to get little nagging pains, nagging soreness, stuff like that on this sort of training protocol, you're 44. Take another deload. Don't be afraid of deloads. Also, start scheduling lighter days, meaning you might come in on Monday and feel strong, Tuesday feel pretty strong, Wednesday gets there, you might need to back the weight down 10%. In fact, you know what I would almost consider, if you want to train every day like you're doing on that sort of very, very high training frequency, then you might need to just take lighter days half the week. And I know you're sitting here thinking, yeah, but I want to be able to go pretty hard. Well, you don't need to. One of the biggest benefits of the ultra high frequency training, let's say where you're actually training a muscle group every day with full body, is the elevated protein synthesis all the time. You don't need an RPE 8 or 9 to achieve that. All right, you could back all your weights down 10%. You could come in and train relatively hard Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, reduce the weights 10%. And do the same protocol. You could reduce them 15%, even 20%. Try that out and see if you recover better, because remember, the point of the high frequency training is to keep re-stimulating muscle protein synthesis. That's the whole point. You don't have to come in and go hard every single time. I'll go so far as to say you don't actually have to go hard more than once or twice a week. To where, you know, that 8 sets of 3 is really difficult. You could have more days to where you reduce the weight slightly and focus on speed a little bit. You know, that's the best way to look at it. I mean, even look here with the training footage I've got above. I'm not really lifting that heavy. I'm not going all out on those 5x5s, maybe the 5th sets. I'm still getting bigger and stronger. Well, at least maintaining it while I've been cutting. I'm down over 20 pounds. I'm not blasting a bunch of gear. I'm 40 years old. You don't have to go that hard all the time. One heavy workout a week with everything else being supplemental to maintain motor patterns and elevate muscle protein synthesis, that's enough. That'll get it done. All right, guys, I've really drug this question out, so let me go ahead and get to the next question. All right. I always hear people talk about how useful essential oils are. I'd like to hear your opinion, as I don't think they have much merit. I don't think they have much merit either. I think they're useful to people selling them. Now, what I want people to understand when I say that, I'm not talking about people applying these things to their skin. I'm not talking about people who put them into diffusers or make their house smell good. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you find lavender oil to relax you, make your house smell good, and you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what? That's perfectly acceptable. In fact, if it relaxes you, that might even help with your training recovery. Relaxation is important for all aspects of health and fitness. As far as using them on your body, putting them into your body, that's a problem. There is no benefit to any of these oils. In fact, you need to think very, very carefully before you consume any sort of oil. I'm generally against people taking oils of any type. Maybe omega-3 oils of some type, if you need it, if your diet's deficient. Outside of that, I wouldn't ever advocate anyone consume any type of oil. Why would you do that? I don't really want to get started on all that, but there's not health benefits to that. You shouldn't be eating coconut oil. You shouldn't be dumping vegetable oil in your stuff. These things are no different. These are just minimally refined oils sometimes, but they're still a refined oil. And oftentimes they're loaded full of large amounts of omega-6 fats, things like that. You don't necessarily need that in your diet. Why would you put that in your body? Again, it's liquid fat calories are not useful for gaining muscle. Maybe if you're doing large amounts of endurance work, you're just putting empty fat calories into your body. It's not good for your health, not good for your body fat. Just oils in general. Same thing as far as I've heard of people putting them in a steamer and inhaling them. You're going to inhale oil. If you do that, you're an idiot. And maybe some people haven't worked in certain environments and they aren't aware of the health effects of inhaling oils because they've never worked in an industrial environment. It's a good way to damage your lungs. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Don't do it. No, I don't see any point to essential oils outside of a nice fragrant smell that might be relaxing, make you feel good, maybe on your skin. For some people, they could help with dry skin. They might make a good moisturizer. I do not recommend putting them into your body either nasally, like inhaling them, and I definitely don't recommend consuming them. There's no benefits, only drawbacks to that. There's no point to that. And if you're just needing empty calories, there's better ways to get it than oil. That'll help your performance a lot more. All right, next question. Hi, I'm curious as to why I often see bodybuilders doing limited range of motion in sets, i.e. incline, bench, press. What's the reason for this? Truthfully, there's no reason for this, actually, other than a bunch of other bodybuilders started doing it. And because some other bodybuilders started doing it, and these guys are telling them it's all about constant tension, a bunch of other bodybuilders started doing it. Now, a lot of people say, well, it works, they're big and massive. It's like, well, do you really think the exercise technique these guys use is responsible for their size? I want you to think about that. Look at the doses Rich Piana admitted to using of drugs. Go look at the studies on doses, like 15% of the doses he used, and we see guys gaining 18 pounds of solid muscle confirmed with DEXA scans, not water weight, solid ass muscle, on 600 milligrams of test when not lifting weights, when being ordered to sit on the couch and not exercise. 18 pounds of muscle gain. People who had already been lifting. Guys like Rich Piana using 4,600 milligrams. Do you really think how these guys train is how they get their size? Do you think it really matters that much? Or do you think the fact that they're stimulating the muscles at all and getting some metabolic fatigue when using hefty amounts of drugs is the reason they're big? I think that's what it is. I don't think how they train matters one bit. And I'll call that like it is. The way they train doesn't matter. It's genetics and drugs. What they do in the gym is almost of no relevance. So because they're getting results doing it doesn't mean anything. They just started copying that. It became a trend. The research on it shows that the constant tension they're trying to do, thus far, not a single study has confirmed, to my knowledge, any well-done study that there is any anabolic benefit to constant tension. That it doesn't have any benefit over even resting between reps and doing full range of motion. None. Zero zip. So why are they doing it? Monkey see, monkey do. Literally, that's it. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. I saw your video about the press versus the bench press for athleticism. I was wondering if enough volume is present, can someone max out their chest development, placing a much heavier focus on the press and the bench press? If so, how would you program this? Well, no, I wouldn't say you're going to max out chest development, but the question you've got to ask people is, are you sure you want max chest development? And the reason I ask that is that the chest is one of those muscles that when pushed really hard has the ability to get disproportionately large to a lot of the other muscles in your upper body. And it creates that big titty look that Joe Weider really liked. I've discussed that in the past, that he was into because of his own muscle fetish and obsession with breasts in men. Now, for people who just want balanced physiques that look like that of an athlete, it may not be necessary to do much more than overhead pressing to get strong, reasonable, functional chest development, and still have everything in balance. And I guess that's more of the question. But no, if you wanted maximum chest development, you need to be doing weighted dips or presses for your chest of some type. But if you want balanced development, I think depending upon the person's the individual person, just a very heavy focus on overhead pressing will most likely do it, again, depending upon what proportions you're personally seeking and what your personal genetics look like. So that's going to vary a bit. Ultimately, how would you program it? Just like any other exercise. That's why I have programs out there. There's plenty of programs. You would program them like any other exercise. It's just that the overhead press might take the place of almost all of your pressing, meaning you might replace bench press and everything else with it. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.